So as you can see, these trend lines are present everywhere. So even across higher time frames. Let's go to the 1 hour time frame and take a look. We'll take a look and see if there are any more obvious higher time frame trend lines. Well, let's take a look right here. So between point A and point B, this would have been a trend line at first. And actually, it almost had 3 points to the trend line. However, structure did not change. We haven't taken a notable high. So from the top down, you had down, up, down, right? And then essentially, you had to take out this point to effectively take that point. So in this example, it wasn't really what I call a useful trend line because of the reason of the whole market structure side of things. It just didn't make a whole lot of sense. However, as price continued down, because it wicked out the trend line officially in this area here, you could have told yourself, you know what, I'm going to use this point as my new trend line point. So by the time you've seen this happen, you could have pulled your trend line up to here instead, which is fine. Absolutely fine. So now your structure looks a little something like down, up, and then possibly if we take this guy here, then we can transition this guy. Breaking structure above this guy means we're coming towards that guy. X marks the spot. So we'll see how this played out. Okay, so we took that low. Okay, now we see if we can close above that high. So now you're starting to show signs of weakness on that high. That's definitely close above that high. So knowing that this is your next obvious target, even though it doesn't make sense to say enter right here, putting your stop all the way down to here just to go up towards that high, that's foolish, right? 0.44% risk reward. So make use of what you have. Use that as a general bias of direction. Okay, so clearly it makes sense to target up. So if this is what I see when I wake up and I look at my charts, then I can just go down to say the 15-minute time frame, the 5-minute time frame, find myself a refined entry and know that my target is going to be this horizontal line right here. Which means that if I can refine an entry good enough, like using, say, an order block like this guy, then my risk reward on a trade like this could be pretty dang good. Even if I covered this low down here, you know, you're still talking about 4%, whereas you'd only make 0.44% if you had to cover this ridiculous low down here. So as you can tell, this can be used in many different ways, right? This whole trend line. You may have seen others use this trend line theory with a bunch of dollar signs. So you may have seen many people actually, since I started using it a few years ago, I've been posting charts with this quite often. It's no secret, but my rules of employing this and why I look at it, I haven't really went over that part until today. So is it useful? Absolutely. So did you get a reaction off demand? Absolutely. Let's see if you get follow through. In this case, you didn't break structure to follow through. Was there an entry off that? I would say probably not. Was there a reason why to cover this stop loss and not just the order block itself? Absolutely, because it maintains your bullish pull. So if this is your bullish pull, up, down, up again, the guys that are looking at just this tiny little order block right here, yeah, everything looked all fine and dandy at first, but ultimately, you're rejecting the market structure by not covering this as your stop loss. So in this case here, we would have been fine, leaving the stop where we were. But what do we have now? Well, we have possibly, or we had possibly another trend line between, say, here and here. You wicked it out here, so we can have drawn it up to here. And now we very well may see signs of structure forming in our favor, meaning that, oh, wow, we could actually use this as another target. So what do we need to break? Well, we need to break this high. So if we drew structure down, we have down, up, down, right? Breaking that high means we're probably coming to that high. Breaking this high means we're coming up towards the larger liquidity trend line high. So that was a wick, not a close. So now we're seeing evidence of closing above that red line. If I extend it over a little bit further, okay, that's a terrible drawing, but what we'll do is a trend line tactic instead, because obviously the highlighter is quite difficult to draw with. So let's see what we get. So price decided it wanted to wick lower. Are we safe with our stop loss? So far, so good. You could argue that, well, because it wicked it out the first time, you would have had to go from here to here. And if you step laddered your break a structure line, as indicated in my step laddering video, then you would see that it technically didn't break structure the proper way. Okay, this example was actually spot on. It didn't break structure at all if you had have scaled up the break a structure line using the laddering technique, but nonetheless, your stop loss would still be intact. using proper structure for that stop loss. We can take this over now and see how this progresses. So now we had hit target 1. Target 1 was hit. We missed target 2. We'll see if we hit target 2. It's taking its a good old time. So maybe this is one of those trades that you kick back and relax on the beach while you're in the trade. And in this case here, yeah, you hit the target pretty nicely. Quick 4% gain perhaps. You know, maybe you refined your stop or your entry a little bit better than what I did in the example here. It's all up to you at the end of the day and how you want to look at this. Are you going to find these trend lines? Are you going to find these curves absolutely everywhere? Yes, you will. You absolutely will, right? So for example, the other method of looking at these trend lines would be more or less, again, it's kind of the same thing as using a liquidity curve, but you could say, well, you know what? I see the overall motion is up like that. I'm not going to connect it point to point. I'm going to go a little bit lower than that just to identify where liquidity is. And I'm going to do it the basic way. And I'm just going to say, okay, there's stops under me. We have a lot of stops under that low there. I don't care if it's a precise trend line. I just want to know where the stops are. You can do it that way. And that's a more basic approach. Okay, that's a very basic approach. And you can do that with the liquidity curve. It's a lot cleaner, right, than using the trend line approach, in my opinion. It's a little bit overused now, like that method of looking at liquidity. But if you're looking for a tradable method using trendline liquidity, then quite clearly, this is it.